to listeners of Picture the Scene.
Allow us to introduce ourselves.
I'm Beth.
And I'm Bailey.
And we are True Crime BnB.
BnB.
We do a podcast every week. We release on Fridays.
And every week we'll bring to you 2 different true crime stories.
First we'll bring you a disturbing story.
And then one that will hopefully uplift your spirits a little bit.
We'd love to have you listen to our podcast.
Yeah, so join us every week on Friday. Find us anywhere you find your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple,
Google Podcasts.
I don't know anywhere else.
And also you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at True Crime BnB.
Did we even mention that we're mom and daughter?
No? I hope you join our crime family. Bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Picture the Scene podcast, hosted by me, Andrew.
And me, Rachel.
Now please note that this is a true crime podcast, so listener caution is advised. Now we'd love you to interact with us on our social medias, and I'll leave a link in the show notes for all of the ones that we have. Now you may have just heard a promo from Beth and Bailey over at True Crime BnB. Now while I would never recommend staying in a B&B where true crime may happen, as you may not get out alive, I can, with all honesty, recommend listening to Beth and Bailey from True Crime BnB, and I'll link them in the show notes, but I also believe they can be found wherever you listen to us. And finally, and this is the longest intro that we've done in a while, we are on the eve of CrimeCon UK, so if you keep an eye on all our social media channels, I'll post updates as long as I don't get too lazy, as and when the weekend progresses and the inclination takes me. So now that's out of the way with, and do go listen to True Crime BnB. Beth and Bailey make a good little podcast there. So how was your holiday, Rachel? Are you nice and refreshed?
It was absolutely amazing. And I just want to put a pin in that point that you made around CrimeCon, because I do want to chat about it. But yeah, in response to your question, holiday was phenomenal, thank you. And yours?
Yes, mine was good. Yes, mine was good.
Yeah.
You went to a nicer place than me, but yeah.
just for the benefit of the listeners, Andrew and I did not go on holiday together. That's obviously why we're asking each other. We were on holiday at the same time, which works out really well when you're recording a podcast. But we both just agreed, like offline, that we really missed recording, didn't we?
We did, yes. It's like a part of my life now. This is our 20th episode, Rachel.
Yes, 20th episode in 2022.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, it was you enjoyed your time off work and you had a great relaxing trip, yeah?
I did indeed.
And you'll be getting all geared up for CrimeCon then?
I will be. I'll try and get some photographs and so maybe I'll get a bit of merchandise that we can give away to someone possibly if I don't want to keep it myself. And I'll see if I can get some free plugs as well. If there's anyone out there who wants a particular bit of merch from a particular podcaster, let us know. And talking about merchandise, I'm not going to mention any names because I don't think it was done to be made public, but a very special person sent us both. Yes, Rachel's holding it now. Our very first ever bit of Picture the Scene merchandise. We've got a couple of cups with our names on them and Picture the Scene, and a tote bag as well. So it's
very cute.
It warmed my cockles, Rachel, when I.
Can I just say I'm just so excited about this. I was out at the weekend, and basically where I live, very small place, and whoever I was out with, one of her friends went, "Oh my god, I listened to your podcast."
Really?
Yeah, so I was like, woo. So you know who you are. Thank you for listening, and yeah, all good. It was nice. It was fun. A bit embarrassing. Tried to play it down a bit, but yeah, it was cool.
Is that someone that you don't know?
I don't know her. No, she's a mutual friend. So, no, we have a mutual friend. Sorry. So yeah.
Awesome. Listeners, I'm sorry we're talking about ourselves here, but I've
know,
not had
I
that
know.
experience. When I get that, I'm going to be like, I'm going to just fall to the floor crying with joy and
I've had it at
happiness.
work. I've had people in work go, "Oh my god, listen to your podcast." That's cool. So no, we're getting out there. The word is spreading, Andrew. And
Awesome.
before I forget, I'm really excited about you going to CrimeCon. I'm gutted I can't join, but as Andrew just said, I'm back from holiday, and it was just going to be a logistical nightmare getting over there. However, what are you most excited about? Tell me.
I'm actually most excited about they've got more live podcast recordings.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna there's one from Seeing Red, there's one from UK True Crime. There's quite a few actually. So I'm gonna try and get in as many as possible, just
Nice.
because I want to just fanboy and like blow kisses at people and stuff like that, and make them avoid me for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you doing just the Saturday?
Saturday and Sunday. I'm flying to London on the Friday and coming back on Monday.
Cool. Can't wait to hear about it, guys. Can't wait to hear about it. Next year as well.
Yes, and just one last thing before we get onto the case. Now I don't have the proper internet yet. I'm still hotspotting people, so if you hear a bad connection every now and again, apologies, but it'll be back to normal. I know audio is never great anyway, but it'll be back to normal next time. So one last question, and it's been a while now, so it's time for every important question. Are you ready for some true crime, Rachel?
I'm so ready.
Good. I'm taking us old school here, back to our roots. So if it's safe for you to do so, I'd like you to relax, close your eyes, and picture the scene. I'd like to take us back to the 27th of January 2009 and to the suburban district of Southall in the borough of Ealing in west of London. Due to its closeness to Heathrow Airport and the number of factories, in the 1950s it became a popular destination for Asian immigrants to settle in the UK. So much so that it was at one point the largest Punjabi community outside of the Indian subcontinent, and nowadays it has a nickname of Little India and is known to be a major centre for South Asian culture. By the 27th of January 2009, there was around 70,000 people living in Southall. Some people pronounce it Southall, but in my accent I pronounce it Southall, so apologies if you don't pronounce it the same as me. And roughly half of those 70,000 had Punjabi origins. Now on this day that we're looking at the evening, and the temperature was around 43 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 6 degrees Celsius, which is enough to make you shiver just thinking about it. Now I'd like to introduce you to Lakhvir Shima. Lakhvir was 39 years old and was known widely by his nickname Lucky. Now unfortunately, this is a true crime podcast, and it would turn out that he wasn't very lucky after all. And on the 27th of January, he was at home with his fiancée, 22-year-old Gurjit Chong, who he had planned to marry the following month, on Valentine's Day actually. Now Lucky would never get to exchange vows on the day of romance, which is Valentine's Day. I'll say that again, as he would be dead before the 27th of January was over. Now it was early evening, and the pair, Lucky and his fiancée, they were hungry, like most people are at that time of the day. It was tea time, and it was time to eat. Now luckily, or unluckily for Lucky and his partner, they had some leftover curry in the fridge, so they cooked some fresh rice and heated up the curry. They both enjoyed their meal, with their conversation focused on the upcoming wedding, and it satisfied their hunger. Well, it almost satisfied their hunger, because Lucky was still hungry, so he had second helpings of the curry. He was enjoying it that much. You know what that's like, Rachel, when it's just so nice you just want to eat some more, even if possibly you don't need to eat more.
I actually, just for the record, I'm not somebody that would go back for seconds, but I live with somebody that would go back for seconds and thirds and fourths. So I do understand what you mean. But I'm curious as to why you're honing in on the food.
We shall see. Rachel doesn't know this story, by the way, people. So shortly after they finished their meal, they
And they
wanted.
both ate it, sorry.
They both ate it. Lucky had 2 helpings, and his fiancée had 1 helping.
Right, yeah.
So shortly after they finished the meal, they wanted to do what most people want to do after a tasty evening meal with their loved ones. They wanted to relax, maybe watch a bit of telly, and enjoy each other's company.
I'd probably go for a nap.
Yeah, possibly as well. But
Get to that age in my life.
yeah, I feel that, I hear that. But they didn't get to do that though, because not long after finishing their meal, Lucky became violently ill. he started vomiting violently, with his heart palpitating, with it fading and becoming weaker. Lucky complained to his fiancée that his face had become numb, with him quoted as saying to his partner, "I'm not feeling very well. My face has become numb when I touch it. I cannot feel it." Now his partner then went and had a shower, and then after she had a shower said that she began to feel similar symptoms. Now minutes later, he reported that everything was going dark, that not long afterwards he lost the use of both his arms and legs. Can you imagine the fear he must have been feeling to have these things happen to him? So he went blind, and then he lost the feeling, he lost the use of both his arms and legs.
Oh my God. And like, yeah, just after you just having like trying to chill out after your dinner. I take it she'd gone to get a shower because she didn't feel very well as well, but thinking she'd come down feeling a bit refreshed and he'd feel better, like, yeah, that wouldn't be pleasant.
Exactly. Now, before this happened, however, before he lost the use of his arms and legs, he phoned 999 to get an ambulance, with the operator asking him if they had food poisoning, with him quickly replying, "No, we've been poisoned." His exact words were, "No, not food poisoning. Someone just put poison in our food." When he was asked why...
How would he have known that?
Well, I'll get on to this. When he was asked why, he replied saying, "My ex-girlfriend, because she was my ex-girlfriend."
Oh my God.
Now, CCTV at his home captured his nephews carrying him and his fiancée into their car to take them to the hospital, and he can be heard on the CCTV vomiting still because he just couldn't stop, even though he couldn't move his arms and legs by this point. Now, in the last hour of his life, he told the doctor that his ex-girlfriend had put something into his food. Now, I say within the last hour, he actually died within an hour of getting to the hospital. That's how quick it was. Now, so severe was the impact of the sickness on Lucky and his partner, the hospital was so alarmed they got the police to evacuate their house in case there was a possible airborne or chemical threat. That shows you just how severe and unusual this was.
Wow.
Now, I've got to ask you the question. I guess I have to ask you this question now before going any further into the story, Rachel. And this is what I asked myself. Why do you think he was so adamant it was his ex-girlfriend?
How he knew it was poisoning?
Yeah, how do you know it was poison? How do you know? Any idea?
I mean, I'm guessing in the days of social media, she's probably sent him messages saying, "I'm going to poison your food." Like, probably literally that dumb, as a way to approach her efforts. But yeah, I don't know. He definitely seems like hell bent on that, and I wonder whether it dawned on him before dying that he knew it was that serious where he would die.
It could be. I want to introduce you now to that particular woman he was talking about, his ex, Lakhvir Singh. Now, Lakhvir was a married woman with 3 children at the time of Lucky's death. And not only was she married, her husband was in the process of being treated for cancer. He was gravely ill.
Wow.
Now, up until the end of the previous year, 2008, in around October time, she had been involved in a 16-year-long affair with Lucky. The affair only ending because Lucky's family found out about the affair, so they quickly moved to speed up his marriage to Gurjeet, his current fiancée, who lived in India at the time, because it was an arranged marriage, with them planning marriage and knowing the wedding was going to happen. They was going to do that anyway, but they pushed it up to happen sooner, as soon as they found out that he was having an affair with a married woman. Right. Now, Lakhvir wasn't happy though. She didn't want to let him go. I mean, after all, regardless of the fact that she was married with children, and it doesn't say anywhere, but 16 years and all her children was younger than 16. Who knows, some of them may have been hers, but she'd been in a relationship with Lucky for 16 years. So that's a long time for a relationship anyway, let alone an affair.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm guessing that, she was of the opinion that if she couldn't have him, no one could.
Possibly, yeah. Now, just because they split up, though, it doesn't mean that she did it. Now, if it was a film, you'd probably not think it was her because it'd be too obvious, wouldn't it? Now to give you a bit of context as to why Lucky was so adamant he was here, to answer your question from before, a month before Lucky had been admitted to the hospital, a month before he died, he had been admitted to the hospital for a week with suspected poisoning, and he remembered the symptoms from that time.
Okay, now I feel bad for saying how the hell did he know what the symptoms of poisoning were, because he'd experienced them.
And now at that time, in the first poisoning attempt, while he was in the hospital, Lucky was suspicious that it was his ex that was the cause, because at that time she was overtly making a point of visiting him in the hospital and trying to convince him how much she loved him. Now, Lakhvir was, and rightly so, arrested and charged with both murder and GBH. The murder charge is for the obvious, for the death of Lucky, but the GBH charge was because of his partner, who ended up almost dying, but she had to be put into a medically induced coma for 2 days, and then she spent weeks in the hospital recovering after that. So it was lucky that she didn't have seconds, really. Now, are you...
Well,
sorry.
no, the question is, was the intention for him to have seconds and therefore die, or was the intention to teach him a lesson of watch your back? Did she expect him to just have one portion and therefore have a bad reaction 2 days in hospital, home, and then be like, oh my God, I love you so much, take me back?
It could have been, I mean, we would never know. It could have been that.
No.
It could have been just to get rid of them both. Who knows? We don't know, unfortunately. Now, you know me by now, Rachel, I usually skip over the trial part of any true crime story, but this one, I just want to go into a little bit more detail about it. Lakhvir's defense was that Lucky was murdered, but not by her, but by a brother-in-law who treated it as an honor killing due to his family experiencing shame about his brother's wife having an affair.
Wow.
Now, the prosecution tried to counterbalance this by calling 2 witnesses. The first witness was a tenant of Lucky's, who testified on the evening of his death that Lucky was quite agitated and he wanted to find a way to change the locks of his home as quickly as possible because he was convinced his ex had been in his home that day. So possibly that might be why he was thinking it was her as well. He thought that she'd been in. Now, that in itself, though, isn't evidence that she did it. It's just evidence that Lucky thought that she'd been in the home. The second witness, and we never know why he thought she had been in the home because he died. But the second witness, however, was a little bit more convincing than that. It was another tenant of Lucky's, because he rented rooms out in his house, who had actually witnessed Lakhvir in Lucky's kitchen on the 27th of January, taking the container that contained the curry that was eaten by them both out of the fridge. So that tenant actually witnessed her taking the curry out of the fridge. Now, the court also heard, however, that the poison that killed Lucky and almost killed Gujit was quite deadly. It was called Indian aconite, and it is only grown in the foothills of the Himalayas, and it was used in herbal medicines in that area. Topical medicines, not ones what you ingest. Now, that locality, coincidentally, was where Lakhvir had recently visited prior to Lucky's first poisoning. In addition to all of that, because some could argue that's still circumstantial, police found a brown powder in a bag in her coat, and she claimed it was for a rash on her neck. But upon examining the powder, they found that it matched the poison in the curry. So that's pretty damning, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think our defence have much else to say on the matter there.
Now, the family of plants that the Indian aconite comes from is the aconitum plant, and the plant is similar and from the same family that grows in Britain, but people know it better as wolfsbane or monkshood. So some of you may have heard of that in the past. Now, at the trial, Professor Robin Ferner, a clinical pharmacologist, explained this about the poison. You vomit profusely, which is what Lucky did, and it's difficult to stop the vomiting, which is what happened. You get abdominal pain, and then you get heart trouble. Your heart becomes less powerful as your heartbeats fade. Your heart rhythm is disturbed, and it's that heart rhythm disturbance that kills you. Now, what makes this drug particularly nasty, however, apart from obviously killing you, is that while your vision goes, your cheeks numb, you lose the feeling in your legs and arms, and eventually you cannot talk. After all that happens, your mind is still perfectly clear. So you're aware of what's happening, you just can't do anything about it. So at one point, he wouldn't have even been able to talk in darkness, not be able to move, but his mind would have just been perfectly clear and lucid. And that is so horrible.
That is like torturous, right? That's like,
Yes.
you know, when you hear about these acid attacks and the victim for like 2 seconds is reacting to the fact that some stranger or someone has just thrown something in their face, and then the burning starts, and then it gets worse and worse, obviously progressively worse, and then like all of a sudden, bang. I can only imagine from you describing that it's similar effect out of nowhere. Like, you know, when there's imminent danger, like a gun or a knife or something like that, you kind of see that physically, don't you?
Yeah.
You see it coming towards you or at you, like, but yeah, that poison, that would just be like torturous, especially so slowly as well. Like if his wife or fiance went for a shower, you know, good 20 minutes later comes downstairs and he's still going through the motions of the the effects. Yeah, that just sounds awful.
Now, Lakhvir, she declined to give evidence in the trial because it is her right. Now, but unsurprisingly, she was found guilty on both counts, and she was sentenced to serve a minimum of 23 years in prison, meaning that she'll be at least 70 years old when released, if she ever is released. Now, during the whole trial, that was the only time that she showed emotion, when she was sentenced and given that minimum of 23 years. And she became tearful while looking up at the public gallery. I suspect she was probably looking up at her family and the children. Now, Lucky's fiancée, Gurjeet, said this in her witness impact statement. I am still under a lot of stress. It preys on my mind all the time. The time I spent in hospital was a very difficult time for me. I did not speak English. My family were not with me to take care of me, and I felt completely alone and isolated. I still do not feel fully recovered, and I believe it will affect me for the rest of my life. For several months, the doctors were not sure whether or not it would have long-term effects on my internal organs. This gave me a lot of tension, and I am still under a lot of stress. So imagine that she's not only lost her fiancé, who she'd moved to the UK for, she didn't speak English when she was in the hospital, all her family was back in India, so she didn't really have anyone there.
Yeah, that it's just absolutely awful, isn't it? Like that scenario. To be an arranged marriage would be stressful, wouldn't it? But the fact that you at least know someone in your life and you know that you can set up a new life with them, and then to have that person taken away from you and be completely on your own, especially in hospital, like you say. Yeah, that's just awful.
Exactly. Now, additionally, it seems Lucky's sister, this is where it gets a little bit weird, Rachel. Lucky's sister, Navinda Singh, was also the sister-in-law of Lakhvir's husband. So Lucky's sister was a sister-in-law of the husband of the woman he was having an affair with, who killed him. And she had this to say: I still do not feel fully recovered, and I believe it will affect me for the rest of my life. When he was around, I never felt that I needed anyone. Now I feel if there is only emptiness in my life. Now, what?
Who said that?
That was Lucky's sister. Lucky's sister was a sister-in-law of Lakhvir, who killed Lucky's husband, the one with terminal cancer.
Why would she have to feel fully recovered?
Well, because she just lost her brother. I mean, from the emotional pain, I'm guessing.
Okay, yeah, that sounds really insensitive of me. I'm happy if you want to scrap that.
No, we'll leave it in there. No, because it's complicated, because it's sister and sister-in-law. It all seemed like they were all very close, so that makes the affair that they had even worse, because there was basically extended family.
Yeah.
Not by blood, but they would have spent a lot of time with each other and in each other's and he would have known that her husband was having chemotherapy for cancer and he was gravely ill. Now, what was interesting about this case, though, Rachel, it was the first time someone had been prosecuted for using this type of poison in the UK to kill someone since 1882. So it was over 100 years since someone last tried to use this poison in the UK to kill someone and got prosecuted for it. Obviously, I'm guessing some people got away with it in that time.
Yeah, so she obviously got her hands on this poison, and that was really rare and went for it. But like when she went when he was admitted to hospital the first time, did the doctors not like flag that he was like had been poisoned by something, and that should be?
Well, I think they suspected a poisoning, but because it was such rare and it wasn't a poison that was even found in that European continent, I don't think they could pinpoint what it was, and he recovered.
Right. Fair enough.
Obviously, because he died and it was so severe, they probably went into further detail trying to find out what it was.
Yeah. Gosh, like this. Yes, failings like that. He was almost allowed to be discharged, and that that it happened again. I'm sure that there would have been some sort of review into that as well. Hey.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I think she did it. I know she was arguing that it was her brother-in-law, but the poison was found on her, so it's a bit of a.
And she's been found guilty by a jury, so
Exactly.
she's got to have faith in the justice system. Hey.
I guess so. Yeah. So, for one last time, if it's safe for you to do so, I'd like all of you to relax. Close your eyes and picture the scene. You're sitting down for a tasty meal with your partner, and it's so good that you want more. Should you have seconds? So thank you everyone for listening. It's great to be speaking back to a microphone and chatting with Rachel again. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time.
Not soon enough, if you ask me.
Yes, indeed. And we got either next time, I'm going to let Rachel decide. Next time, she's not going to decide right now, but we've got either a fraud case or a rather harrowing case of some children being killed. So I don't know what order I'm going to do them in. I'm going to let Rachel decide.
Oh, well, thanks for that.
That's okay.
And
So thank
listen.
you.
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
To everyone going to CrimeCon this weekend, have a great one, and we'll speak soon.
Great, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.